Within this video, we're going to walk through how to use the events and function systems here inside of Fortnite Creative. We're also going to cover a few pro tips and a couple things that you're going to want to keep in mind when you're building things. So without further ado, let me show you what at least two of these triggers do. So this first one actually will event fill this bad boy. And then this other one right here is a toggle. So you can turn the light on and off. You can see it right there in front of me, like so. And then these last two here are just for some other stuff in a little bit later we'll talk about. So just hold on a moment and I'll show you what happens when we use them. Without further ado, let's go ahead and jump in and take a look at the code. To begin this, let's go ahead and set this trigger here in front of me so that it'll actually fill up our water volume. So one thing I want to point out is that within our water volume, we've changed two things. First and foremost, I've gone ahead and actually changed the name on this. This is going to be important later because we may have a whole bunch of water pieces in this. So the other thing that I've changed is we'll go and just open this up, and I've just set its vertical default right here to 0 so that it's empty to begin with. That's all we've actually messed with. So let's go back over to our trigger because we don't actually need to do anything in here, though we could, and I'll show you how to do that with a light. So I'm going to go ahead and back up, and on this trigger, I'll go ahead and just open this thing up. What I want you to notice is that up here in the top, right here are our inputs and our outputs. This first one is our inputs. We're not sending anything into this trigger. All we're worried about is the outputs, what's going out. We're going to use the output to actually fill up that volume. So we'll go ahead and make sure that we click on this one, and it's going to say on triggered, what do we want me to do? So I'm going to go ahead and add, and this is going to open up a little section that says, which device do I actually want to trigger? Well, go ahead and click on this, and I get a little drop down on the far right over here, and we say, hey, we have a water pool. Let's go ahead and set the output to working with this device. And then the other thing we can do is set what function we want it to do. So this is automatically going to fill up with anything that that pool can do. So in this case, I want to go ahead and start vertically filling it. So go ahead and click on that. And that's all we have to worry about. Now, if I wanted to, and I have a whole lot of these down here, I can actually drop down by clicking this bar right here so I can close it if I have a bunch of things inside of it. So we'll go ahead and say, okay, so let's go ahead and test this. So I'll go ahead and play the game. And now when I walk over this, it should go ahead and fill up that water volume. There we go. Sure enough, it works. So cool. Next, let's go ahead and talk about setting up a toggle. Now, as mentioned prior, you can actually set this up kind of backwards. So I can actually go to the device and tell the trigger to actually trigger it. So let's go ahead and walk up to this. I'm going to go ahead and open it up. In this case, I'm again going to go ahead and rename this because I want it to be something very specific. So I'm going to call this one just bulb. Perfect. We'll go ahead and save that. And now inside of here, you'll notice that I am in the inputs section in here because we're going to be inputting information into this to make it turn on. And specifically what I want to do, I'm going to scroll down here to the bottom. I'm going to go ahead and toggle this. So I'm going to go ahead again and click on the add button right here. And scroll down a little bit further and it says, which device do I actually want to use to turn this on? Well, easy enough. I'll go ahead and just click on the select device. And over here, I've got trigger and I've got trigger 2. So which one is it? So this brings up a point on the naming convention. Which one do I actually want to use? So let's deal with that first before we actually set up any kind of functions and events. So if we wanted to see which trigger this was, of course, we could walk over here and actually check it out. However, if this is all the way across the level, I don't want to have to deal with that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and open up my menu here, go up to my island up here at the very top. And sometimes this shows up, sometimes it doesn't, and it may change in the future as far as what its name is. But specifically what I'm looking for is this little button down here that says Channel Browser. So let's go ahead and open up this Channel Browser. And inside of here, I'm going to make sure that I go to the All Devices and click on that. And you'll notice we have our trigger and trigger 2, just like we would expect. Now, I can very easily teleport directly to this to figure out which one this is, which is handy in case I want to actually go all the way across the level. So go ahead and just click on the teleport button. It's going to launch me up in the air. I'm going to just drop right back down. You can see that we are right next to our trigger 2. So let's go ahead and open up this one and rename it accordingly so that it matches the actual light bulb. So down here again in the bottom left, let's go ahead and give it a name. And I'm going to go ahead and say rename, and let's go ahead and just name this light bulb trigger like so, and go ahead and press the save button. Press the OK. And now let's go all the way back over to our light. And let's open this one up and set its inputs to receive from that actual trigger. So again, make sure that we are in the input section. And we're just going to scroll all the way down to the bottom, and we're going to go ahead and have this toggle. We'll go ahead and add a device. Click that, scroll down a little bit further. So which device do we want to use? And huzzah, now we actually have our light bulb trigger down here in our list. Now, if you do have a giant list in here, here's a pro tip. Right here in this section, you can actually click in and actually search for one. So we're going to click in there, type in light. You see that we have our light bulb, which is what we're working with, and we actually want to use the trigger. So go ahead and click on that one, like so. Then make sure that you hit the OK button down here in the bottom. So let's go ahead and double check our work. So if I walk back over here and open this one up inside of our outputs, so this one right here, you can see that we have all of this stuff set up. And should I want to actually change the function, I can actually do that here and actually manipulate what I want that bulb to actually do, which is really cool. So that gives us a chance to actually double check our work. So let's go ahead and play the game. And when I go ahead and walk over this, that light should then toggle. Sure enough, so it turns off and turns back on. Excellent, sweet, and I got a little experience from it. So to wrap this up, let's go ahead and talk about these other two pieces that are sitting over here inside our world. And really what I want to do is just cover some of the cool features that the system actually enables. So let's go ahead and walk up to our trigger right here, and let's go ahead and just name this one all, because it's just going to trigger everything. Yay, all caps, winning. Now what I want to do is I want to actually trigger something to happen, and I'm going to trigger all of the pieces that we have in our world, which is really cool. So let's go ahead and select the devices. So let's go ahead and select the water. Let's go ahead and add in a new one, and I can just click the add button right here. And in this case, let's go ahead and grab the light bulb. And let's go ahead and then add one more. And let's go ahead and add in that sentry. So now I can choose which functions I actually want to happen on each of these. So in the water pool, let's go ahead and just start filling it vertically with the light bulb. Let's just go ahead and turn this one on. And then with the sentry, we can go ahead and just spawn this one in. So there we go. We have it all. Oh, interesting. Now we got an extra one at the bottom. Odd. Anyways, what we can do is also just close and open that if we need to, which is awesome. So now when I say OK, I should be able to double check my work by walking over there and making sure that all of these are actually going to function properly. And because I've named things correctly in a way that I can find them very easily if I need to search for them, it makes my job a lot easier as a designer, and my team is going to be much more happy with me. The last thing that I want to stress here is that we don't necessarily have to have one thing triggering everything. We can actually have two different devices like this one and this one that actually do different things for that light, which become very, very powerful. So we have the ability to set events from our triggers to make functions actually execute on our objects, our devices out there in the world. So without further ado, let's go ahead and wrap this all up and test everything that we've been working on. So I should be able to get that sentry to actually spawn. I should see this thing actually fill up over here on the far left-hand side, but the light shouldn't do anything because it's already on, because I've already set this trigger to turn the light on. So let's go and do that. Sure enough, there it is. And if I want to toggle that light off, I can actually do this here. Perfect. And if I want to turn it back on, I can do this here. Ta-da! So there you have it. We've gone ahead and created events that trigger functions on other devices. So if you have any other questions, comments, concerns, or confusion you need cleared up so that you can continue to create, go ahead and leave a comment down below. I'll get back to you when I get a chance. And don't forget to be clever-like and subscribe.